charging him with murder? You know, the government shows you a lot based on who it chooses to prosecute and who it doesn't.
You're right on all this, and our earlier conversation raises the question. I always say, okay, everybody acknowledges the border is a disaster. And I think everybody would have to acknowledge that fentanyl coming across the border is killing hundreds of thousands of people over a course of several years, right? No matter who the president is right now. How do we solve that? Right? If we acknowledge, it seems that we are, acknowledge that there's a problem. Now, you can argue, okay, Democrats don't really recognize or accept or really care that much about people coming illegally across the border, which is why one of the weakest areas of all of Joe Biden's administration is his response to what's going on at the border. So that is true. But we talked earlier, Trump basically is saying that he will unleash the American military. You heard Lindsey Graham questioning Merrick Garland yesterday about what basically naming the cartels as terrorist organizations would do. How do we fix it? Who is the guru that could fix it? Because here's my thought in big picture form, Buck. The reason why the fentanyl exists is because there's a demand for it. So as long as there is a demand for a product, there will be someone who is trying to figure out how to get that product to the demand. So that is why there has long been an issue with drugs in this country, because there is a demand for the product. What's different to me about fentanyl compared to other drugs is it's relatively rare the first time you use a drug you could die from it. That's the case with fentanyl. So what do you think? What is the solution? I'm not claiming to know. We talked earlier about, hey, if we name them a terrorist organization and we start going after them, that requires us taking men and material, frankly, from the United States and basically flying down to Mexico and going to war with the cartels. Look, I think it's fair to say that basically Mexico can only go so far because they are effectively a narco state. So there is a cost of doing business that it seems both Mexico and the cartels will accept, because by and large, this product is going to the United States and making everybody richer in Mexico. And you know, if you pay attention out there, that the Mexican cartels actually can have pretty good relationships with the surrounding communities, because they're not really giving their drugs to those communities. They're using some of the money that comes back in, which is wildly profitable, to help some of the local communities, almost like a Robin Hood type setting, depending on where you are in Mexico. So they have some support for the Mexican people. I don't know how you solve it, frankly, without effectively declaring war. I mean, that's the only solution I can think of, which is
people are using a lot of very, war on terror rhetoric for what we should do with the cartels. And look, the cartels are as evil and a bigger threat to us than any jihadist organization on the scene today, because of the numbers of people they're murdering, their brutality. They undermine the Mexican state. They undermine this country too. And they're hollowing out whole communities in America that are now empty. And think of with every person who dies of a fentanyl overdose, there are family members who are shattered.